And we continue with our unit Business and ESG, where we want to prove that ESG is a capability, not a limitation for business. So specific examples from absolutely different area. McKinsey consulting company specified at least 5 areas where ESG can provide value for business. Decreased expenses for more efficient use of resources, alleviating labor, making it easier for employees, easier attraction of financial resources, and many, many more. We have Sergey Zaborov, McKinsey partner, head of ESG for companies and resource companies in Russia and CIS countries, working with industrial complex. Hello, Sergey. You help companies build their business so that it will be profitable, but at the same time comply with ESG criteria. What kind of strategies do your clients use? Please tell us. Hello everyone, I'm glad to welcome the participants of the forum. I'm glad that ESG topic attracted the attention of our great experts and the audience online. I would like to say that ESG is very important. For example, we have climate conference COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland, which is aimed to align the position of countries for combating climate change and to decrease the climate impact of business and specific countries on the planet where we live. And this is only one example how global ESG agenda is. In Russia, we have multiple events dedicated to this topic. Recently, we participated in the Golden Autumn Forum, which was dedicated to the agenda how to bring it closer to the agricultural sector. And this is just one example. In parallel, we can see that we have large-scale digital transformations which are aimed to implement and to use digital technologies and artificial intelligence tools in day-to-day activity of financial institutions and business companies. And the results of these digital transformations are absolutely astonishing. For industrial companies, for example, they have increased performance, decreased cost by about 20%, a significant boost of production quality. Technical companies, financial companies will use AI tools and improve their services, which will be reflected in the quality of the volumes of sales and the margins of the sales. And finally, there is a number of areas, and I'm sure the representatives of these areas are here in this forum, for whom AI is the foundation of their model. And based on these two global trends and the firm trend for digital transformation and wide application of AI tools on the one hand, and on the other hand, a new upcoming digital agenda for ESG transformation. So let us discuss these topics. First, what kind of strategy can be formulated by a company for ESG? And the second question, how to implement this strategy? How can different tools and AI can be used to fulfill these strategies? Let's start with strategy number one, with question number one. Some companies, let's start with the conservative side of the spectrum, they take more a pensive approach. They wait and they prefer to react to the existing demands for some specific aspects of their social or environmental or governmental criteria. And most of these demands are reacted strongly, and mostly they come from the regulation. In July this year, trans-border carbon regulation principles were announced, and they have direct economic and financial consequences for companies which export their production to the EU. The potential scale of the risk for the first-rank companies, from the first-rank Russian companies, which will have to comply with these regulations, in numbers is by about 1 billion euros by 2027. If they do not react to this new agenda, they will have to pay about 1 billion euro. Speaking about 2030, this number will increase by about 20 times. So these are additional expenses in the magnitude of billions. Companies have to reply, and they have additional risks. This is the first group of companies. They are more conservative, they wait and then they respond. Second group is more proactive. They believe in the new trends, and maybe they don't really try to harness it, but at least they try to be more proactive. They want to be ahead, and they want to be there first. These kind of companies usually tend to implement their own business strategies, or maybe develop new business strategies to adapt the environmental, social and governmental principles in their own activity. For example, they can develop climate strategies. It has strategies aimed at analyzing and addressing the risks which companies might have due to climate change, which is assumed right now. I would like to remind you that we have two main scenarios for climate change, which assume the change of average temperature in our planet. It's increased by 2050 in the best case scenario by 1.5 degrees Celsius, in the other, more realistic scenario, by more than 2 degrees Celsius. And the companies have to analyze and decide which risks they will be exposed to. There are quite a lot of risks. For example, for agriculture, this would mean that with this average change, with the change of this average temperature, non-yield years will increase 2 times by 2050. Just imagine, the number of non-yield years will increase by 2 times. It will deal a blow to the food markets. Second point, companies think, analyze and want to decarbonize, to decrease their carbon footprint. And in order to formulate these kind of strategies and provide the basis for these kind of strategies and to speak to the public, we see these kind of approaches. Companies claim from 15 to 20% decrease in carbon footprint up to carbon neutrality, when all the emissions of CO2 will be compensated by a company, which is an example of a proactive approach. Speaking about the ecological situation, that's for this environmental. For social, a topic regarding the improved labor conditions for their employees, and in parallel they study and they create comprehensive concepts to improve the quality of life of the people around the companies. And finally, companies look for ways to improve their corporate governance principles. They include diversification, inclusivity, have more women in the top management of the company, and in general among the employees. Third group of the companies are the companies which is basically has ESG as the foundation. A few examples. For industrial sector, in metallurgy, they build factories to produce millions of tons of steel with carbon neutrality using renewable energy sources. Basically, it's so-called green steel. Another example, there are companies which start to provide their customers, fast food companies provide zero carbon burgers. The proactive activists of these kind of companies are even ahead of the usual proactive companies. And finally, there are green funds, which focus on green, sustainable technologies and companies which use them. These are the three groups of strategies, and here comes the question, where is the place for AI and how can it help with the implementation of the strategies? The quick answer is there is place for AI and it can help, especially for the implementation of ESG criteria. Once again, a few examples. For industry, we know that artificial intelligence tools are used to increase general energy efficiency, increase the level of the raw materials usage, and improved disposal of waste, assistance, personal assistance, and other systems based on AI. All of them help the industry. At the same time, AI tools can be used to improve multi-parameter and sophisticated algorithms for decision-making, to provide assessment for loaners, for potential clients. At the same time, increase their score and assessment models for credit associations and for investment companies. In retail, AI can assist in the way that they will be able to have carbon neutral basket of different products. And we know that in other industries, tools are AI tools used to improve labor qualities, labor condition qualities, in order to monitor the presence of employees in danger and hazardous areas and deny the access to these kind of areas in case of emergency, or the change of the contamination level of their working places. And last but not least, the usage of AI tools is used now to improve the quality of life around us and where companies are placed and if they want to use it. The improved access and affordability of the transportation, we have assistants, we have navigators, which can significantly improve transportation experience and, for example, at the same time decrease their carbon footprint. As a result, we can see that artificial intelligence, where it is used, has direct application to ESG agenda. And to conclude, before we move to the Q&A session, first, ESG and business transformation demand are right here, right now. It's too late to wait. The train is here, the train has arrived. We have to hop in and go on. We can be skeptical about different statements regarding net zero or carbon neutral, but still we see these changes, and we should think about implementing these ESG criteria into the existing and emerging strategies of a company. Second point, is there a universal answer to ESG strategy? Well, the answer is no. We have different companies in different areas. They can be in absolutely different niches, at absolutely different starting points. ESG strategy will be different. It's really hard to compare the construction of a steel producing factory with a traditional coal factory. Obviously, they cannot be compared directly. Third point, the companies which have successfully implemented AI tools will get an edge in implementation of their ESG strategy and agenda, because they know how to adapt and how to use these tools. These are the three key conclusions. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to take any questions. Thank you, Sergey. Thank you, Sergey, for your... It's very interesting. What is the attitude of society towards ESG? Have people realized that ESG train has arrived? Yes, they have, and they see it more and more. Just a few numbers. About 46% of employees start to take into account ESG principles when they decide where they want to go to work. What company they want to work for. They take into account the responsibility of this or that company. There is a set of stakeholders which starts to provide positive pressure on the ESG agenda. This is besides the example which I provided before regarding the employees, and we could have other examples. So now we have carbon neutrality strategy by the Russian Federation. So we actually see this trend here in our country too, but we can give other examples. Sergey, AI Journey is a traditional Sber conference, but this year we discuss IT and AI in ESG, and this comes to forefront. How do you think is this important, discussing ESG? It's important, just as important as the adaptation of artificial intelligence for business. Business as we know it will be different. AI integrated ESG agenda. And the existing business, AI tools, on the one hand, they are either actively implemented to improve the strategies and competitive edge of a company, but on the other hand, they help create new businesses. At the same time, AI tools can be used by the companies which will have to integrate their ESG agenda in their activities. So the answer is yes, it is absolutely relevant and it is fully deserved being at the forefront of the discussion. These experts will have to analyze different solutions, models and other tools in order to address these ESG issues. Sergey, thank you. We've been here more than half a day online. What's your opinion on the conference? I think it's great. It's very active discussion. And you have great questions, relevant questions. And I really like that you have this agenda which reflects today's reality. I think the energy level is high. Sergey, thank you for your very interesting take on our discussion.